Right, let's just skip the long introductions and dive straight into the absolute bedrock of the Vought cinematic universe. Because what we're looking at here, it's not just some simple prequel or a side story to tide us over. No, this is the explosive launch point that directly impacts the massive stakes and the completely broken reality of our modern timeline. When I first started dissecting the sheer scope of this expansion, it hit me almost immediately. The staggering amount of resources poured into this specific era means this is the cornerstone for absolutely everything moving forward. We are zeroing in heavily on Benjamin, the very man we're eventually going to fear as Soldier Boy, and Clara Vought, operating in the shadows under the guise of liberty. So let's buckle up and take a deep dive into the bloody, twisted origins of the world's most terrifying corporate empire. Let's break this whole thing down.
So let me explain the brilliant dual timeline mystery that I am absolutely convinced is secretly at play here. When pressed on whether we'll see multiple timelines in this expansion, the definitive answer was a flat no comment. Now come on, to me, in the context of how this specific universe operates, a no comment is basically an absolute confirmation. It's a deliberate withholding of a massive, earth-shattering reveal. I strongly believe we're going to see Soldier Boy waking up from cryostasis in the present day to help rebuild a totally shattered Vought. I mean, think about the ruthless capitalist mechanics of this empire for a second. Vought is currently in absolute ruins, right? What better way to resurrect a massive bleeding corporation than by bringing back the original uncompromising poster boy? I'm entirely convinced we're looking at a narrative structure where the sins of the past are literally the only blueprint for saving the present. We'll be watching Stan Edgar and Soldier Boy navigate the modern corporate wreckage while simultaneously unraveling their incredibly dark beginnings in the 1950s.
But to truly understand the future of this universe, I have to take you back to the very core of this mystery. We're talking New York City, 1950. We are right in the immediate, incredibly tense aftermath of World War II. When I hear Soldier Boy passionately declare that he wants to fight for his country and join a special project, the imagery grounds us completely in this gritty post-war reality. This is an era defined by a massive, truly terrifying shift in global power. The dust of the Second World War is just barely settling, but a new, infinitely more insidious kind of warfare is brewing right beneath the surface. It's the absolute perfect paranoid breeding ground for a corporation like Vought to plant its poisoned roots deep, deep into American soil. And to fully grasp how deep this conspiracy actually goes, I really need to highlight the very real, highly classified history of Operation Paperclip. In reality, this was the controversial US intelligence program that brought brilliant German minds over to win the space race. But here we're seeing an absolute masterclass in twisting real-world history into fictional horror. In this timeline, the US government used that exact same classified pipeline to import Frederick Vaughn and his wife Clara directly into the heart of America. And they didn't just give him a safe haven, they literally handed him unlimited resources and a blank check to continue his horrific genetic research right on American soil, completely and utterly unchecked. It's wild. So let's move into Section 1, the Red Scare and Cold War paranoia. And that leads us right into Section 2, the first generation, the Amazon originals. Now let me introduce you to the absolute first generation of manufactured gods. These are heroes completely untouched by any pre-existing lore, which instantly ratchets up the stakes for us because we have absolutely no idea what their ultimate fates are going to be. But right at the center of it all is Benjamin. And I immediately noticed the tragic, honestly kind of pathetic dynamic driving him. Benjamin, soon to be the infamous Soldier Boy, just wants to make his deeply disappointed father proud. So he uses his dad's elite contacts to enroll in the program, unknowingly walking straight into the waiting arms of Clara Vought. I think this brilliantly illustrates the core tragedy of his character, right? He isn't initially some unfeeling invincible monster. He's just a deeply insecure young guy desperately seeking validation. And if you look closely at Clara's expressions in these interactions, man, you can literally see the cold calculation in her eyes. She knows for sure that she has found the perfect, naive, physically capable test subject to mold into the ultimate weapon. What truly fascinates me about this first generation team, Torpedo, Private Angel, and Bombsight, is the terrifying illusion they present to the world. Because despite the public smiles and that whole patriotic united front, Clara is the absolute only person who actually tolerates Benjamin. The rest of the team, they secretly despise him. The internal rot is already festering from day one. They look at him with this undisguised contempt because Benjamin comes from a vastly different, highly privileged background. To them, he's a total fraud. Just a rich kid playing soldier using daddy's money while they likely had to endure genuine, horrific suffering just to survive the V process. Clara, however, actively protects him, but let me be super clear about this. This isn't out of love or maternal instinct. Not at all. She protects him because he is her masterpiece, the undeniable living proof of her husband's greatest, most terrifying success. As I dug deeper into the espionage elements of this era, I caught a gripping sequence that honestly changes everything we know about Vought's early days. We see 3 undercover agents using a ham radio to secretly tail Soldier Boy. And this begs a massive, massive question. Was the US government, or maybe some shadowy faction within it, already secretly investigating the sudden, classified appearance of Compound V? Let me break down why this is such a game changer for the lore. For over 70 years, Compound V remained a tightly guarded, top secret lie. The public genuinely believed these beings were chosen by God. But the presence of plainclothes detectives secretly monitoring Vought's Golden Boy tells me that the sudden existence of these super beings did not go unquestioned. Clearly, elements within the system were deeply suspicious and desperately trying to uncover the bloody truth right from the very beginning. And right out of those paranoid shadows, I can clearly see the polished, unstoppable Vought PR machine being built entirely from the ground up. I mean, just look at the timeline of events here. It's an absolute masterclass in propaganda and manipulation. In 1950, they are already placing Private Angel on softball political talk shows like Voices in Politics, effectively swaying public opinion with a charming smile. Then by 1951, we see the blinding flashbulbs of these heavily manufactured press conferences, completely hiding the truth from the American public. And by 1952, Soldier Boy is headlining elite, high society parties, cementing their status as untouchable celebrities rather than what they really are, biological weapons. And standing proudly in the background of it all is Clara, acting as the quiet, calculating architect of this grand, terrifying illusion. Which brings us to our final act, Section 3, Sage Grove Manor and the Cost of V1. Now let me pull back the curtain on the brutal reality hiding behind all that shiny PR. We are looking at the horrific, early-stage experiments happening deep in the basement of Sage Grove Manor, and we all know that name carries a heavy, dark weight in this universe. Now, this isn't the refined, relatively safe Compound V we see decades later. No, this is the prototype. This is V1. I want to walk you through this terrifying sequence of events. Step 1. A captive test subject is forcibly injected with early V1, and it literally looks like liquid fire entering his veins. Step 2. Unimaginable agony. The extreme physical torment is so visceral, we are witnessing the complete, agonizing restructuring of human biology by brute force. And finally, step 3, a violent breakout. Because you simply cannot contain that level of raw, unstable power forever. The test subject shatters his containment chamber in a bloody, primal rage. This isn't just a cool action sequence. It represents the uncontrollable monster that Frederick and Clara have actually unleashed upon the world. And while that domestic horror unfolds in the labs back home, I witnessed an incredible detail that completely shatters the myth of the sanitized superhero. We actually see Soldier Boy violently gunning down enemies against a wall covered in Korean text, plunging him directly into the brutal, on-the-ground reality of the Korean War in 1950. This detail is absolutely phenomenal for the lore. He wasn't just some glorified parade float shaking hands in the 50s, Vought actually deployed him into a vicious, bloody conflict. It shows us exactly how this corporation militarized and monetized their assets right out of the gate, proving they were more than willing to commit absolute atrocities so long as it happened off American shores and completely out of the public eye. During a frantic police raid, I also caught the deployment of a highly specific, deeply important piece of lore, a sonic whistle designed by Goddelkin. We actually see this tactical device successfully crippling the highly enhanced senses of both Private Angel and Clara, dropping them instantly to their knees. Let me explain why this is such a massive lore drop. We've obviously known the name Goddelkin, but seeing their tactical countermeasures deployed this early in the timeline, that's fascinating. It proves that even back in the 1950s, Vought fully knew they were creating highly volatile weapons of mass destruction. The fact that they had to engineer a high-frequency whistle to instantly disorient their own soups tells me everything I need to know. Vought never fully trusted their creations. They always kept a leash hidden right in their back pocket. Of course, the cleanup of these bloody, chaotic messes almost always falls to Clara. I watched her effortlessly take down that escaped V1 test subject in a brutal bar fight, which serves as a stark reminder that before she was an executive in a boardroom, she was a devastatingly powerful V1 soup herself. But it's what she does next that is truly chilling. Standing there amidst all the destruction, she looks directly at Soldier Boy and declares, "I have a vision of a brighter future." The delivery of that quote, it is absolutely bone-chilling, because we, as fans who've been dissecting this universe for years, know exactly what her twisted, supremacist vision looks like. She isn't just recruiting Soldier Boy to be an American hero, she is molding him into the blunt instrument for her own dark, ideological crusade.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, deeply provocative thought. Does the title of this expansion purely refer to this dark 1950s origin story? Or does it secretly point to the present-day resurrection of the corporation after the catastrophic fall of Homelander? The more I piece this giant puzzle together, the more convinced I am that we're looking at a brilliant, terrifying double meaning. Yes, we will absolutely witness the historical, blood-soaked rise of this empire through the eyes of Soldier Boy and Clara. But as we dissect every single frame of this history, we have to prepare for the inevitable collision with the modern timeline. Are we just learning history here, or is this the exact blueprint for how Vought will rise again from the ashes today? The foundation is set, the secrets are bleeding out, and this universe has irrevocably changed. Keep questioning absolutely everything you see.